girl who killed her sex trafficker gets 11 years in prison. Here's a report from Democracy Now! From 2021 to remind you about this case. To another case from 2018, that of Black teenager Chrystul Kizer, who faces charges of killing her alleged sex trafficker, a 34-year-old white man, when she was just 17 years old. Court records show that the man, Randall Volar, had a history of sexually abusing underage Black girls as young as 12 that was known to the Kenosha police, but he remained free for months. Then, in June 2018, Kizer says she shot and killed Volar in self-defense after he drugged her and tried to rape her. Chrystul Kizer was freed from jail on a $400,000 bail in June, but still fighting her case. She faces life in prison.
That was then. This is now. And as we said, it's going to be 11 years for this victim of sex trafficking. Again, killed her sex trafficker.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Chrystul Kizer, who argued that she was legally allowed Randall Volar kill him because he was sexually trafficking her, was sentenced Monday to 11 years in prison after pleading guilty to a reduced count of reckless homicide. Kenosha County judge sentenced Kizer to 11 years of initial confinement, followed by 5 years of extended supervision in the 2018 death of Volar. He was given credit for 570 days of time served in this. Boy, she looks like this little girl. Prosecutors say Kizer shot Volar at his Kenosha home in 2018 when she was 17, and that she then burned his house down, stole his BMW. Kizer was charged with multiple counts, including first-degree intentional homicide, arson, car theft, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. Kizer, now 24, argued that she met Volar on a sex trafficking website. He had been molesting her and selling her as a prostitute over the year leading up to his death, she argued. She shot him after he tried to touch her. AP with the details. Her attorneys argued that Kizer couldn't be held criminally liable for any of it under a 2008 state law that absolves sex trafficking victims of any offense committed as a direct result of being trafficked. Most states have passed similar laws over the last 10 years, providing sex trafficking victims at least some level of criminal immunity. Prosecutors countered that Wisconsin legislators couldn't possibly have intended for protections to extend to homicide. Anti-violence groups blocked the Kizer's defense, arguing in court briefs that trafficking victims feel trapped and sometimes feel as if they have to take matters into their own hands. State Supreme Court ruled in 2022 that Kizer could raise the defense during trial. Kizer's attorneys did not immediately respond to phone messages seeking comment on her sentence. I don't know what the Wisconsin legislators intended, Jackson, but usually laws are specific. They have carve-outs if they need to. We don't want people to die. This seems to me a case, though, of we're just not going to believe you. And I could be wrong about that, but that's what it feels like when someone is trafficked, when their abuser has a presence that is traumatic. The worst can happen. What say you?
I mean, other than blatant and arbitrary racism, I don't see how the jury could have come to this decision. 11 years in prison is a very long time, especially for self-defense, all the things that this woman went through at the behest of this man who knew better and knew what he was doing. I don't see how this benefits their justice system. Nothing about this is just, nothing about this is right. I hope that there's some type of a way that we can push to get her freed. I don't know exactly what that would be. I'm not an attorney. I don't know the ins and outs of that municipality's laws. But again, other than just blatant racism, because this isn't even like a principle for principle's sake type of thing. You know, like it's not like she just, took this man's life just because. It's not like they were a couple and she just got mad at him and they weren't getting along and she took his life. Because then that would be a bit different, because then there's more consent going on and you handled the situation poorly. But this is not that. She was being trafficked. She was being taken advantage of, manipulated, abused. How can you just look past that other than, like you said, oh, we don't believe you. This is definitely one of the most disgusting stories I've seen this year.
Amber agrees.
Hello everyone, this is Lions Den with another news and commentary. Before I start this video, I will give a shout out with Dr. Rashad Richie of Indisputable for this video, and they at TYT and Indisputable did an excellent job on reporting stuff that the mainstream media has refused to report. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, Chrystul Kizer has been sentenced to 11 years in prison over her defending herself of a white sex trafficker. Now, and this reminds you of a Sonoya Brown case here in Nashville. This is a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion, because this woman has been tortured, has been SA, and yet she shot and unalive this sex trafficker, burned his house down, stole his vehicle. But they gave, now, when the incident happened, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, she was only 17 at the time. Basically, that he took advantage of an underage child. And and then basically it's also race related, because the sex trafficker, you heard from the Democracy Now! Story that he's been free for months before the incident happened. And nothing's been done about him. They know he was a sex trafficker, and I believe that he was registered as a sex offender, and they still allowing this man to do a lot for younger black girls. This to me, and now Chrystul Kizer is going to serve 11 years in prison over this sex trafficker's unalivement. Randall Voller, that's his name, Randall Voller. Now, remember, this is Kenosha, Wisconsin has a history of racism, right? This is the same Kenosha, Wisconsin that Jacob Blake was shot 5 times by Kenosha police. Okay? This is the same, Kenosha, Wisconsin. When you have, and of course, Kyle Rittenhouse, the 17-year-old boy who shot 3 Black Lives Matter, unalived one of them, has been set free. So I know what y'all trying to say. Lions Den, what is your point here? My point here is that the criminal justice system in Kenosha, Wisconsin has been completely miscarried. And this is proven time and time again with this Chrystul Kizer situation. I hope that after this sentencing, I hope that Sonoya Brown, I hope that she stepped up and fight for her. I hope that celebrities decided to fight for her, because again, you're sentencing a person who's been destroyed. Her life is completely destroyed by this man who is a sex trafficker, who basically not been doing anything by the Kenosha police. They should have been arresting him, but they refused to do that. They refused to, well, they say, well, they letting them go for months before Chrystul Kizer unalived them. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine it? Like, this girl, and she's 23 right now. What happened with her when she was 17, her life would never, ever be the same again. And now she's going to serve 11 years in prison for Randall Voller's unalivement, even though they know that he was a sex trafficker. A white man did this to this now 23-year-old black sister. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.